If you're into pneumatic nailers, GREX has a more powerful 23 gauge pinner that's new and a brand new 21 gauge brad nailer. Let's take a look. We're back at AWFS 2017 in the GREX booth with Raymond Wong to take a look at a couple of new fastening tools from GREX. Raymond, what would you like to show us?
Well, today we'd like to showcase the P650LX and our new 21 gauge tool, the H850LX.
Okay.
The 23 gauge tool here, this new 50LX, is really an evolution from our previous line of 23 gauge tools. This goes from a 3/8 inch length fastener up to 2 inch, like our original P650L. It's got a couple differences. The most obvious one is the larger body size. And we did that for two reasons. As users found more and more applications for what they want to do, everybody wants to drive into harder and harder woods. So with a larger body, we can have more driving power to drive into harder woods. Secondly, when you're on the job site, a lot of guys hate lugging around those large air compressors. So there's a growing trend that brings smaller and smaller air compressors.
Okay.
But the problem with those is they don't really help maintain a high sufficient air pressure. And when you underpower a tool, it can damage it, it can prevent you from driving the nails forward.
Sure.
So with a larger motor on here, you can effectively think of it as it can accommodate those smaller air compressors more comfortably. So now guys can bring in those small compressors that they like. In addition to that larger body size, the other new feature that we have patented is our override lockout system.
Oh, great.
On the 650L, when you're down to about 7 fasteners, it locks out to indicate, hey, alert you, they're almost out of fasteners. You better use the last remaining ones intelligently before you let go of that piece of molding.
Sure.
On this system, the difference is you don't need to push in on that override button to drive those remaining 7 fasteners. It's just one touch instead of constantly holding the button. Okay. One touch, and you can drive those rest of those.
All the way to empty.
All the way to empty.
Okay, great, great.
And so that kind of leads us to our newest product, which is our 21 gauge tool, which is really a natural evolution from here. The lockout feature and the safety feature, the body size, it's all transferred over to the 21 gauge tool. Okay. And the question that we get is why 21? Sure. Everybody has their 18 gauge, everybody has a 23 gauge in the shop. But the in-between size gives you a good balance. Okay. There are some situations where the 23 gauge fasteners may be just not enough holding power. Sure. And you want additional holding power, but you don't want to go to 18 gauge because it creates a really large hole size. Right, right. So this gives you an in-between choice, holding power closer to an 18 gauge with a hole size closer to a 23. Sure. Another situation where we see the 21 gauge is going to be really advantageous is for a guy that needs to go on a job site. If they have to bring in their 23 gauge tool and their 18 gauge tool, they also have to bring the fasteners for both of these. Sure. But with the 21 gauge tool being in between, they can now have the option of bringing one tool and just one set of fasteners. Right. So for certain jobs, that may be sufficient for what they need to do. It could be the difference between driving their car versus driving their truck by bringing less product. Less gear. What's the nail range size for the 21 gauge pinner? The 21 gauge, it's actually a slight head brad, unlike our headless pinner here, which is 23 gauge. So that's additionally why we get the little better holding power. The nail range is 3/8 to 2 inch, so similar to our 650LX. And I forgot to mention actually, one of the newest features on this tool is our integrated edge guide track. And I don't remember if you're from last year, Chris, we were showcasing the edge guide last year, which is an add-on to our old line or existing line of 23 gauge pinners. But since this is our newest tool and this did so well and it was so popular, we decided to make it a standard feature in our 21 gauge tool. So we've got the edge guide, it's adjustable. So what that allows you to do is just offset from the distance from the edge of the cabinet for your assembly. And drive a straight line. And in the case where you don't need to use it, because if you're driving inside, that's going to be in the way, take that off. There's a little place for you to store it. That way it will be ready for you the next time you need it and lost somewhere in your shop. Sure. Now does the edge guide come standard on this gun or is that an accessory? It actually comes standard with this gun. So it's a standard feature. Great, great. Now does this 21 gauge brad nailer, does it also have that override feature like the LX model? Same exact system that we just translated over. You even see that it's the same exact parts as well.
And would there be an application or a sensibility for someone who's just buying their first brad nailer to maybe go with the 21 gauge brad nailer if they're uncertain about what do I need an 18 or do I need a 23? Is that a rationale for buying
I think that's very reasonable, especially if somebody's just starting out as a woodworker. They're always contemplating, do I get a 23 or do I get the 18? Because the difference is so big, right? If you want something structured, you got to get 18. If you want something very small hole, you want 23. And so you're stuck between two hard spots. With a 21 gauge, if your budget is limited, there's an option to go with one tool and you can kind of do both. Sure.
And speaking of budget, how are these two guns priced and are they available now?
So both of them will retail around $300.
Okay.
And in terms of availability, both of them are available now. In fact, the 21 gauge is so new that it should be available in dealers around in August.
Okay, great. So coming soon. Well, if our viewers want to get more information about these two new guns or any of GREX's other products, what's your website?
GREXtools.com.